Missing someone love with all your heart. Missing someone love with heart.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I have a brand new client who came in to get my signature gray blending, and today we're going to focus on really just enhancing her gray. She does have some old highlights on the ends there that you can see is a little bit too warm for her liking. So after I do my signature placement, I will be going in and doing some tip outs on her to kind of help with the warmth that's on her ends. So I am going in and doing a little detail foil around the hairline. Now, when we did our consultation, she didn't want anything to be too bold around. She did still want quite a bit of dimension, so I'm just gonna do one foil around the nape there and then just start going in with my slicing pattern. So for the slicing pattern, I am going in the center of her head, taking these slices that are nice and see-through, cutting some custom foils to the length of her hair. And now the reason we do the length of the hair is so that we don't move any bleach that's within the foils. So going up the center back, I'm doing about ½ an inch in between and leaving that good amount of negative space so that we can maintain a little bit of depth, because as you can see through her roots, she doesn't have a ton of gray, and so we do want something that is going to blend out. We don't want to over highlight her, and I don't want to make her too blonde. I want to give her enough highlights to where it blends but doesn't overpower her natural gray when it grows in. Now, when I do these slices in the back, I try to stay really consistent with the spacing, and then I also try to make sure that my sections are very clean. That way, when I go in and do her touch-ups next time, it's really easy for me to see what needs to be done. So when I'm slicing, I'm trying to just be careful to make sure that my slices are straight and they're see-through enough, and the amount of hair that I pick up is pretty consistent throughout all of my slices. So now that I'm getting closer towards the top of her head, this is where she's going to part her hair. I am going to make my slicing pattern a little bit closer together, because here I do want a little bit more color. I don't want it to be too dark. Now, since this is her first session with me, we are going to be doing slices, but let's say she came in for her touch-up next time and she felt like some of the placement was either too chunky or too heavy, or she just wanted something a little bit different that grew out a little bit softer. Now, some options that I could throw in there is, first I would ask her for a picture of how she would want it blended, and depending on the photo, we could either switch it up from slices to doing more of a textured weave, or spacing out the slices even more. It really depends on her inspo picture, and that's why I feel like photos are really important. So if she still wanted more of a ribbon effect and wanted less of it and more dimension, I would probably space out these slices a little bit more. But if she was looking for a more blended effect where it didn't look so contrasty and just more woven, then I probably would start doing some more weaves in this top area where she parts her hair instead of doing the slices. You could also do the option of taking even thinner slices but keeping them the same distance from each other. It all depends based off of their photo. So now that I'm going in the front area, I am making the front just slightly lighter because I want it to frame her face. She kind of just let me do what I thought would look best around her, and I felt like doing a nice cute money piece would frame the color really well. And again, this is all customizable. If she said next time she comes in that she wanted something that would grow out a little bit softer around her hairline, then maybe I could switch it up and do weaves. But for today, since she is pretty much all dark from root to ends, everything looks really grown out, I wanted to do the most here, and then later if she wanted to be a little bit more dimensional, we could definitely switch up the slices into weaves next time to kind of give her that softer grow out. But I did the slices today only because I want to kind of get it all a little bit lighter because she is starting out so dark. And today for my lightener, I am using the Danger Jones powder lightener. This lightener is 9+ levels of lift and gives me the best lift for all of my gray hair clients. I feel like the consistency is very creamy and on the thicker side, which is great, especially when you're doing like foil placements like these, because you can't have your foils slipping or anything, or bleeding or anything like that. So this bleach is really great for that because the consistency definitely helps with keeping my foils in place. So since I do want her front to be on the lighter side, I am doing a bolder side piece. So after, to connect that money piece on the sides, I did a slice and then I did a weave after. So after that part, I'm going to be connecting that front money to the back money piece, which is that first foil I did around the nape, and I do a weave right above the ear, and this is how I'm going to connect the front and that back. And I'm going to continue after that my slicing pattern all the way up until I reach the mohawk of her head. So for this foiling pattern, you want to make sure that you're fully saturating the hair and getting a really good lift. I feel like with these type of transformations, if you don't get an even lift or a good saturation, it can really make your life a lot harder when you're going into tone, because let's say the hair doesn't reach all a level clean 10, then you kind of have to tone to whatever the warmer spots are. So it's really crucial to really take your time with this part when you're foiling to make sure that you're getting a really good saturation and your sections are clean and the amount of hair that you're picking up and the spacing is all consistent throughout the entire head. And notice how even though she has some previous highlights, I am still going in and picking through because I don't want to over process any previous highlights that she might have on her ends. I feel like she does have on the finer texture of hair, and you just want to be extremely careful, especially with this type of hair when you are trying to go to like a level 10. So now that I've finished foiling her root, I'm going to be going in and doing her tip out. So you can see I do a tease, I over direct to the front of the client's face, and I start brushing up from the mids and the ends, and then kind of feather up towards the top at a slant, and making sure that these tip outs, the key with a tip out is to make sure that your sections are super see-through, even more see-through than the foils that I was doing at the root. And this is just going to ensure that you get the cleanest, most even lift, and that this is going to get really nice and bright, because since the tip outs are on the end, you want to make sure that those tip outs get to the lightest level that you are lifting the client to. So this is kind of what her hair looked like when some of the foils were done being processed, and she lifted really beautifully as expected because she is on the lighter side naturally. I would say her natural is about like a level 7. It's like an ashy level 7. So I was pretty confident that her hair would get nice and light. So right now I'm just going in and just kind of rinsing out these foils because they are ready. So now that her foils are pretty much done, I'm going to be going in with her toner. So for her toner formulation, I am using the Danger Jones gloss for her root, and I did the 6-01, which is the level 6 natural ash, and this is great because it looks very gray on the hair, and I always normally like to use a level 6 even though she naturally is about a level 7, just because I feel like it just blurs out those highlights really well at the root and the base, and it just kind of makes everything blend very well. And this is a demi, so it's going to grow out really soft, it's still going to fade. And then after I applied the demi on the root, I applied some rapid toners. I mixed up some Icy, Violet, and Moonstone. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. I absolutely love the way that this came out. You can see everything looks very dimensional and just super natural. We were able to kind of get the ends nice and bright too. You can see those beautiful tip outs really did get rid of a lot of that warmth on her ends there from her old highlights, and even though we did more of a bolder money piece, I feel like it still blends really well and just looks super natural. And I feel like doing that darker shadow root, even though we did a level 6, it's just gonna blend and soften the grow out a lot better when her natural roots grow in. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.